Angels baseball, what have they been looking like? Is this the type of season we should be expecting down the line? Can they be the AL West favorites moving forward? What about Shohei Ohtani? Is he in the trade block? Can he be traded? Find out in this next edition of Sideline Sports Podcast. Welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. Summertime, it's fully underway here. Sun is out, no more June gloom. We could finally hit the beach, hit the pools, and it's time to take in the sun. And you know what else that means? It's baseball season. Before we talk about Halos baseball, I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast, where if you're not on the sideline, it's not a Sideline Sports Podcast, bringing you SoCal content. If you guys are liking the content we're throwing out there, follow us on TikTok, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. We have a lot of content being thrown at you guys, especially with it full throttle on the summertime. And if you guys liking the episodes as well, thumbs up. Comment down below what kind of content you guys want to see. Hit the subscribe button down below and hit the notification bell down below. We've got some cool guests moving on down the line, but we're talking about cool guests. We have Jared Timms, former Hope International pitcher, along with the co-host of Talkin Halos. Jared, what's going on, my man? What's going on with you?
Nothing at all. I mean, baseball. You already mentioned it. Thank you for that great introduction, though. I don't know how cool I am, first off. My wife says I'm not very cool, so we'll stick with that. I know. And man, you're bringing me back to my heyday, man. Right-handed pitcher from Hope International. Love that. That's awesome to hear that. But thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk some Angels baseball.
I mean, gotta love it, man. I definitely have been there at Hope International, have some roots there, calling some college ball there in the summer. So come on, gotta give a little hope.
Ambridge Park, baby, Ambridge Park. Nobody understands the history of that baseball field either. By the way, I don't think too many people know, but yeah, I mean, Google it, Google Ambridge, and see who's played there before. I think Babe Ruth played there. It's crazy. It's crazy to understand who actually played at Ambridge. But let's talk Angels baseball.
There we go, guys. Make sure to do a little homework. Ambridge Park in Fullerton, California, right next to downtown Fullerton. I mean, why not? You get a brew, and then you can maybe catch a baseball game that's going on right there. But like you just said it, Jared, Angels baseball right now sitting second in the AL West. They just jumped over the Houston Astros maybe in the beginning of this week, maybe in the ending of the last week after beating the Kansas City Royals. But currently, round one of the Freeway Series, was talking about that a couple of days ago on TikTok as far as what to expect. Dodgers, Angels, that's always a fun one. But before we even talk about the Freeway Series, what has been your thought on the Angels season?
They've been playing really good baseball as of late. They've been beating the teams that they need to beat. They need to go out there and show that they can beat legitimate teams now. You know, I mean, they took 3 or 4 from Texas, which was very, very good. They beat Nathan Eovaldi, which has been tough for the Angels to do in the past, and everything seems to have been clicking. I said it in June. I said at the beginning of June, just looking at their schedule, there's a chance they win 20 games. There's still a chance they win 20 games. I think they need to win out, but I mean, still winning, 17, 18, maybe 19 games in June, you're setting yourself up for success. And I think it was Anthony Rendon came out a couple weeks ago saying that the goal is to win 15 games a month, and it puts them in a good spot to be a playoff team. And they're doing that right now, so the July into August is going to be huge. I know we'll talk about a certain deadline here in a few minutes, but yeah, July into August is going to be huge. They play a lot of very, very good competition. I think I posted it on Twitter a couple days ago, but they only play 5 teams in July and August that are under 500 right now. Everybody else is above 500. So it's going to be a challenging couple of weeks and months, but if they can hang around at that 500 clip and stay, 7, 8, 9 games above 500 where they're at right now, it puts them in a really good spot moving forward, and at least have a chance to take a wild card spot. Or the West is wild right now too. Houston can play really well. They can catch fire all of a sudden. Texas seems to be a little bit streaky. They might have to pick up a pitcher here at the deadline or something like that. And the Angels have been streaky, but playing well as of late too. So, and never count out the Mariners either. You never know when they're going to rattle off 20 games, 20 21 or something like that. So they did it last year.
The AL West is certainly a very underrated division for sure. I mean, a lot of clout around the AL East, a lot in the NL West, with a lot of most of the division being a winning division. But as far as the Angels are concerned, I feel like once you get to like the gridlock of summer, once you get to like July, August, in previous years, I think you can confirm that that's where the Angels just start declining down. And they have these red hot starts to the season in the first couple months of the year. But then once it gets to the middle of the season, they start going down. So I think if they can be consistent in the winning ways and stay winning those 15, 16 games a month, like you said, I think the Angels can either win a division if Texas shows signs of slowing down, if the Astros could still show some signs of slowing down as well, if the Angels can stay consistently winning, I think they have a good shot in the division, or definitely could be an argument in the AL wild card. I mean, that's always a fun battle to see as well once it comes down to September, and see all these teams just kind of pounding each other and trying to squeezing their spot to that final wild card spot. But I think the next 2 months are going to be very crucial for the Angels for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to sound really weird, but I'd almost prefer to be a team going into September, October, battling for a playoff spot rather than already having that playoff spot. It's a different type of mentality, playing that deep into it. And you see a lot of teams actually, catch fire. Last time the Angels made it to the playoffs is a perfect example. Best team in baseball. I think they won 100 games that year. They came in, the Royals were the wild card team. They played the A's. They came back, beat the A's in that one game wild card game, and they ended up sweeping the Angels. And I think they ended up going on and winning the World Series, or at least going to the World Series that year. So yeah, it's going to sound weird. I want to see the Angels in the playoffs, but I want to see them battle into the playoffs, not just completely blow everybody out of the water. It's, again, different type of atmosphere, especially once you get into the playoffs.
I think I can agree with you with that, because I mean, when you're a division winner, when you're a division champion, yeah, I feel like you just kind of lay back a little bit, like the lean back type of mentality. But then you go with the wild card, and it's like battle, 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 battle. Game 162, battling. We're in the wild card. Now it's just, hey, we don't have any time off. We've been grinding it out this whole entire time. While all the teams that have been leaning back, now they got to, oh man, we got to lean forward now. We've got to rewrite the song lyrics and got to lean forward now and have to find the offense again, find the strike zone again. And I definitely like that. And I will be a person to say, I will never sleep on any wild card spot. I mean, in NBA terms, look at what the Miami Heat did. They were a play-in team to make it to the NBA Finals. Look at what a lot of teams back then were wild card teams and had some serious runs to the playoffs and making it to the World Series. So I'm never going to be the person to say, don't sleep on a wild card team. But what about the starting rotation for the Angels? They certainly made a number of acquisitions. They made a number of moves for the rotation. I mean, I have certainly liked what they have done for the rotation. It's certainly a step up, but what has been your thought?
Yeah, it's very top heavy. You have the big three up at the top. I know, Shohei Ohtani hasn't been that ace that you've wanted. He's been pitching, well. He's kept the Angels in games, but he hasn't been that ace. Patrick Sandoval, a little bit of regression. We've seen Reed Detmers has looked really good over his last 4 starts, so we might be seeing a turn of the page there, especially with how he pitched in Game 1 against the Dodgers. Looked absolutely fantastic. And then after that, Griffin Canning looks like that, second round pick that they picked almost 5 years ago now, and he looks really, really, really good as somebody that you can't really rely on, but that is a nice little 4 starter who's going to pitch 5-6 innings and keep you in a ball game. And then Tyler Anderson, weirdly enough, is kind of that wild card. I wasn't a huge fan of that type of pickup, That velo scares me a little bit. However, he's been there, he's done it before, he's been on a good team. He knows what he's doing. Coming from the Dodgers, that's a really good organization. So right now, a lot of these pitchers have turned into 2-pitch pitchers. We've seen Ohtani with a lot of the fastball sweeper, and the sweeper's gotten a lot of negative talk. Detmers has gone fastball slider a lot. That worked for him last night, but would like to see him include the third pitch in there. Sandoval has gotten a lot of fastball slider as well. So it comes down to that third pitch and seeing if that plays. But for the most part, the starting pitching staff is going to be the key to the Angels' success here, rolling into July and August for sure.
And speaking of that success in going into July and August, July is a huge month for the trade deadline. I just want to throw it out there with a lot of people asking this question. Will Shohei Ohtani be wearing another jersey by the end of July, beginning August?
Right now, no. Perry made that very clear last night, or at the start of the Dodgers series, made that very, very clear, that at the moment they're not trading Ohtani. However, baseball's crazy. You never know, right? And Sam Blum, actually, of The Athletic, came out with a really interesting article, kind of quote at the beginning, just, are the Angels looking to win this year or looking to win long term? Because if you're looking to win this year, which is very viable, very doable, you have 2-3 of the best players in baseball. If you can't show Ohtani twice in there, and you have Rendon if he can stay healthy. So yes, you can go all in, or do you push for the long term of winning and, I don't know, maybe trade Ohtani, trade Renfroe, and know, maybe there's not a chance that maybe there's a chance you don't make the playoffs this year. You don't need to go buy. You have pieces. Like, you look at who you lose next year, and that would be probably Shohei Ohtani, probably Hunter Renfroe, and probably Gio Urshela. Everybody else comes back. Oh, and Matt Moore. But everybody else is coming back for the Angels. You have a core right now to build around for sure. So do you go out and trade some of these guys even though you're in a playoff spot? It's a really interesting, fascinating question. At the moment, I'm saying no, just because knowing Artie Moreno, knowing the Angels, they haven't been to the playoffs in 8 years. You have to push to make it to the playoffs, especially if you think you're keeping Shohei Ohtani. But if the Angels, start losing, here into July and August, because they do have a tough schedule, it wouldn't surprise me if something happened where they did trade Shohei Ohtani. So it's up in the air right now. I think at the moment, no, but that could change in a week span. You got to take it series by series.
So let's just say that the Angels were to trade him. What would trade talks start with in an organization as far as like for the farm system? What would you ask? I'm not saying names. I'm maybe talking like top prospect rankings. Where would you start the talks?
Shohei Ohtani is so tough, and this is why, again, like, people are saying he could be a $500 million player. I don't view him as necessarily a $500 million player, but definitely could be. You look at, if you're trading him to, there are a lot of teams can trade their farm away for Shohei Ohtani. So there aren't as many teams now that couldn't trade for him like there were in years past, where you have to get 3 number 1 prospects. I think you need to find the right fit first off. So I think the Yankees, the Dodgers, even a team like the Padres or Mets make a good amount of sense. You're getting a top prospect, so a Jason Dominguez type guy, a Dustin May type guy, somebody that is, a legit prospect that is going to contribute. And then, you're probably getting 2 other top 10 prospects in that system, and they have to be really close to being ready, or they're going to be major leaguers, because if you don't hit on a trade while you're trading Shohei Ohtani, arguably, it turns into the Babe Ruth trade. Like, you're just going to be scolded forever. And I think if the Angels were losing this year, it would probably have been Perry's last move. But with the Angels winning, I think you can kind of get away with trading a guy like Shohei Ohtani, and not winning this year, because you have built a backbone with the Angels. But at the moment, a Shohei Ohtani trade, that's interesting, because you're also you're bringing how much money in by all of Japan, like all of Japan watches him. And I don't think anybody understands that. Like it is, let's take some time off break and watch Shohei Ohtani pitch. Let's watch him hit. So yeah, you're bringing in a lot of money that way as well. So any trade doesn't make sense, but it starts with a number one prospect or your number one dude, Dominguez, Volpe, somebody like that, and then you have to make sure you hit on the rest of those guys that you get 2-3 other prospects.
It's a combination of guys that you can certainly see down the line as major leaguers that are very close to being major league ready, and guys are already there in the major league club that are ready. Hey, we'll be able to utilize these guys, and we have a future to look forward to in the next season, maybe in September down the line, to give guys opportunities as roster spots start to open up a little bit more. So, I mean, Angels are in the winning ways right now. I would certainly agree with Perry as well. Hang on to him and see where you could go with him. And with that note, with the Angels being more on the winning side of things and going to go for a playoff push, what do they need to address here in the trade deadline?
First and foremost, they need to get healthy. They need to get Anthony Rendon back at third base. Freak injury, fluke injury, whatever you want to say. They need to get him back at third base. They need Zach Neto back at shortstop. And then they need Mike Trout to start hitting like Mike Trout. Those are the three biggest things. They've been working Hunter Renfroe out at first base, so you can technically say they need a first baseman. However, it'd be interesting, though, if they brought up Adell, put him in right field, and put Renfroe at first base. That makes your lineup really, really interesting, really good. And Joe Adell is doing really good things down in AAA. I would have said catcher, but the catching actually looks pretty good. Defensively, it scares me a little bit, but they're hitting, they're doing good things. The Angels need another pitcher. They need another pitcher, and good teams have strong bullpens right now. So they need to get healthy. They need to get a strong bullpen, and they need probably one more starting pitcher. And there are plenty of those in the July trade market for sure. Every year, not just this year.
I can actually see the Angels going after a Marcus Stroman, maybe even a Shane Bieber. Shane Bieber coming back home, I mean, former UC Santa Barbara Gaucho. I mean, coming back to SoCal. How about that?
Giolito's a SoCal guy too. You never know. But yeah, it really depends on what are you thinking? Do you want to run this long term? Do you have a chance at keeping Shohei? It comes down to that. So yeah, like if you want to go all in this year, you could go get a couple starting pitchers and say, man, we're going to win a World Series this year. If you feel that you think you can. If not, you have to think about, man, you have a pretty good backbone with a couple years to come now that you're producing some pitching, and you have a guy like Logan O'Hoppe, Zach Neto. You have the draft coming up as well that you're probably going to hit on, it seems like. So yeah, it's the Angels almost can't go wrong right now unless they don't trade Shohei Ohtani and they don't make the playoffs.
Still a win-win situation, but I mean that's why Perry makes the big bucks over there and in the Big A and making these big time decisions and such. But I want to get your opinion on something just because you mentioned it. What was your thoughts of Zach Neto getting the call up? He plays 20 games in the AA level. He hits about 326 around there already, hitting so well out of Campbell University. Just got drafted in last year's draft. He's already in the show. He's already, slow start for him. But what was your thoughts on that? I mean, it was certainly ludicrous of the Angels to allow a guy to play him only 20 games at Rocket City.
I talked to Neto in the offseason, and just the mentality that he brings. It doesn't surprise me that what he was doing before he got hurt. Dude's a baller, dude's a gamer, dude just knows baseball and gets it and eats, sleeps, drinks baseball, and wants to go out there and he's a team guy. He really is. And that was something that I told him, I think the Angels were missing a guy like him. And weird, like now, the Angels have been playing pretty well, and Zach Neto's been around, and it's a guy that gives all effort whenever, isn't afraid to crash into a wall, isn't afraid to run through a wall for his team. So was I surprised? Yes, actually, I think I was. But at the same time, the Angels have been promoting so quickly and so heavily that it didn't surprise me either. I was a little worried that it was a little premature, but again, prove me wrong a little bit there. And I'm not afraid to say that. So especially when things are going well.
I mean, he has certainly molded into a major leaguer. I mean, it's just kind of one of those adapt or die type of situations. And you talk to him, like you said, and, in order to be a baseball player, you just 24/7 has to be baseball all the time, especially being thrown in the fire, and you would just have to adapt. And the Angels were in need of a shortstop. They didn't exactly think David Fletcher was going to be hitting the decline. I mean, look at the disgusting numbers he has put up in previous years. Now it's just like, wait, what? Like David Fletcher now, like kind of on a slump? Like, what do we do now?
Yeah, Fletcher's an interesting case there. I think when they brought in Gio Urshela, it was almost like turning a page. Like, hey, we're gonna let you guys battle it out and see what you guys got. And if one of you guys takes it by the horn and goes with it, then that's gonna be the route that we go. And Gio did that until he got hurt. So it didn't surprise me that Fletcher. I was surprised that they, in a sense, let him go. They outrighted him, but at the same time, it didn't surprise me just because you do have two David Fletchers, somebody that is a baller. He's a gamer. He's going to go out there and play for you every day, run through a wall, kind of like Zach Neto. But not a guy who's going to hit for a lot of power. Not a guy who is going to light up any scorecards or anything like that. He's going to do the fundamental things right. I actually don't think that David Fletcher is a shortstop either. I don't think Gio Urshela was a shortstop. So, but with that being said, every winning team has a guy like David Fletcher and Gio Urshela who go out there and can play multiple positions. And again, it's a gamer, is a baller, and can just go and do things. Go and play 10 different positions. Like, I'm sure David Fletcher would probably play all 9 positions. That's how many positions there are. I forgot about that. But Flint can play all 9 positions for you in a game if you needed to. So and I kind of think the Angels are kind of missing that now in a sense. So we'll see how long Fletcher's down there. He's hitting pretty well in AAA, and he might deserve a call up here pretty soon. So we'll see.
You just, nowadays in baseball, you just got to have an outfielder's glove. You got to have a middle infielder's glove. You have to have a third base glove. You got to have a first base glove. You got to be even ready to suit up and catch a couple of innings if you have to also. And it's really more of the trying to find your way into the lineup nowadays. Just, hey, we already have a second baseman, but there's an opening at first. If you want to start getting the first baseman's glove and start learning how to pick up one hops and such, if you want to learn how to do that. And I just feel like that's where the game is going nowadays. But you know what? Since you mentioned minors right now, what about Joe Adell dropping that bomb? That was absolutely insane. When I watched it a couple of times when I saw it, and I was judging the ball, like, how far did that go? And I saw the distance, 514. You're kidding me, right? And I think it was a curve that he hit it on, right?
He's 3-0 sitting curveball. That was impressive. It took me a couple times to realize, like, I had to watch it a couple times to really like figure everything out, like, what the situation was to tie a game sitting 3-0 off speed. I don't know if that was like that's not something that I would have done. I'd be sitting 3-0 heater. So I'm good for him, and they must have seen something with the pitcher there. But yeah, I've been to Salt Lake. That's a fun stadium, cool stadium to be to. When I drove around, I didn't understand that, like, just on the other side of almost the outfield fence are houses. So he might have actually hit a house, to be honest. Yeah.
No way.
It's still trying to be verified where exactly the ball landed. I think to center field, it's more of a business complex. So he might have hit it off the buildings might have hit it into the buildings out there, out of the stadium. But regardless, that was stupid. Like, I think that's farthest home run in StatCast history, I think, right now, 514. So the ball flies there, yes, but to go that far is stupid. It's unbelievable. He's got stupid power.
It's just like unhuman of Joe Adell, really. Do you
Yeah.
see him going back to the Big A? I mean, can he make another trip back? I mean, how many years has it been since he's been back in Anaheim?
He's a guy that I think needed this entire year in one spot to just go and mentally be that guy. Like, it's not a skill issue for Joe Adell. It's a mental issue. The dude is skilled beyond belief, and that's why he got drafted in the first round. That's why he was a top prospect, because the skill has always been there. He's always been able to hit a ball. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know this, but coming out of high school, he was hitting balls in spring training or I guess in extended spring training, or in Arizona, 480 feet, just out of high school with a wood bat, which is stupid. So the stupid power has always been there. This year, again, I could see them bringing him up in like that September area if they need a bat in the lineup, somebody gets hurt or something along the lines of that. Or if you put Renfroe at first base or something like that, I could definitely see that to get the lineup going for sure. But it's never been a lack of skill. It's been he just needs to mentally be prepared. And I think that's what they're kind of having him do down there. And he's having a real good year for Salt Lake. So I hope we see him. Be cool.
So I want to finish up the podcast staying on the topic of Salt Lake. Do you see Daniel Murphy going to Anaheim? I mean, man, that guy's been out of the game for such a long time.
Man.
I'm talking about out of the major leagues for such a long time. He's with an indie ball team, and then you see him now in the minors. Like, does it get to that point?
It's honestly kind of a good feeling when Angels are able to sign guys like this, because I'm sure that there were maybe not 30 other teams, but a bunch of other teams looking to sign a guy like this, veteran presence that can play the infield, that has played in the postseason. Not saying that he's going to be there, not saying that he's going to be good, but I'm sure he had multiple offers, and the fact that he was able to, that he picked the Angels, means that there's some type of trust shown, that there's the ability to produce somebody like this. He could also have said like, wow, the Angels infield is actually really lacking, so this is my best opportunity to get back to the major leagues. I like to think of the first argument there though, rather than the second argument. But I don't know. I got to go and watch him. I didn't get to watch him last night. So it'll be interesting to see what he looks like. He's getting a little older. The bat's probably slowed down a little bit. But I mean, heck, if he catches fire, you're not upset about bringing somebody like that up for sure.
I mean, I don't think it was going to cost the Angels all that much to sign a guy like that anyways. And you know what? If he helps out, the Angels look that much better. I mean, Perry looks better. And like, wow, you signed a guy at this age and he's producing. You just end up looking like your GM level just kind of leveled up, and you just look that much cooler, that much better when you sign a guy that much older. And, just seems like maybe he's done with the game. But that's all the time we have left here on Sideline Sports Podcast. We thank you all so much for tuning into this one. If you guys like this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what your Angel predictions are. Where do you see them going? Do you want to see Shohei Ohtani be traded to get some farm talent, future talent? Or do you want to see him here in Anaheim, in the Big A, and have an opportunity to go to October baseball and get a nice little run in the postseason? Also, hit the subscribe button down below. Jared Zion is the first cool guest that we're bringing onto the podcast. We have many more cool guests that we'll be bringing on here as well. So please follow us on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're trying to get all the coverage for you guys on SoCal, especially with all of the baseball going on right now. And once again, former Hope International pitcher, along with the co-host of Talking Halos, Jared Timms. Jared, thanks so much for stopping by, man. This will not be the last time that you'll be on the show. Certainly had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. No, thanks for having me. I just, like I said, I enjoy talking baseball. So anytime you want me, just shoot me a message, man. More than happy to jump on with you.
Absolutely, guys. I will also be putting his Twitter handle down below. Also, the Talkin' Halos Twitter down in the description below, so you guys can follow him, stay up to date with everything Angels baseball. But I am Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast, from the host of Sideline Sports Podcast via Sideline Sports Media, saying hasta luego, buenas tardes, everybody, and enjoy the Angels baseball.